What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories, I talk about all of it to make sure that you are Xbox ready just like me. And in today's video, we're going to talk about a surprising casualty of Xbox's reset and how it has fans
I'm back again. I'm back again. Can you hear me? I'm back again. Can you hear me?
everywhere, furious. The future of Game Pass following some shocking rumors that have been leaking over the past couple of days. And then I'll wrap up the video talking about what I believe is the most frustrating aspect of all of this. This video is sponsored by Monarch. If you've been keeping up with the channel, you've probably noticed a trend. Everything is getting more expensive, whether it's consoles or the games themselves. Everything just seems to be going up in price around this specific time. But hey, I can't control what these companies decide to do with their products and how they want to price them, and I like to focus on the things that I can control. Things like my personal finances and my budget, and that's where Monarch comes in. Going in between different apps and websites just to keep track of all my accounts and credit cards and loans, it can be annoying. But with Monarch, all of that information across all of those accounts is presented to me in one clean dashboard. Seeing my entire financial picture visualized like this immediately, it makes the whole thing seem more manageable. And if I need to find a specific transaction, I don't need to go into an individual account. I can just search it up right in Monarch's dashboard. Or if I'm just curious, like, hey, how much did I spend on takeout this month? That was a goal of mine. I wanted to cut down on that. I can get that data instantly. And with this flowchart specifically, I can see exactly where my money is going to every single month. There's no surprises. Monarch is private and ad-free. You are the customer, not the product, so they're not going to be serving you ads and they're not going to be selling your data. It's compatible with over 13,000 financial institutions, which provides a fast, secure setup with all the major banks, credit cards, and brokerages. It'll also analyze your financial data so it can give you helpful insights to how you can better spend your money, and it's cross-platform so you can access it through a desktop or through their mobile app. If you want to take control of your finances and make sure you have plenty of money saved up for all of these games coming out, you can start your trial and get 50% off your first year using my link down in the description, or by using my code XBOX50 for 50% off the Monarch Core tier. Thanks again to Monarch for sponsoring this video. So for about 3 months, Asha Sharma was stacking goodwill. She was just stacking nothing but W's from the time that she took over up until just a couple of days after the Xbox showcase. She won over a ton of people in a very short amount of time. And while I'm not saying that was deliberate or in preparation for anything by any means, it's just very coincidental that after all of that excitement, it's just been nothing but drama surrounding Xbox for the past couple of weeks, ever since they put that letter out, that memo, detailing all the problems that they face as a business. And now, of course, the Xbox news cycle is dominated with all of this talk about studio closures and layoffs. People are prepping for the worst case scenario. It's not just these studios. They're looking at layoffs at ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard. Xbox's vendor teams are expected to be hit as well. The ID at Xbox program expected to be hit. And unfortunately, it looks like the PR agency that they work with, Assembly, who I deal with a lot as a creator, it looks like they're going to get hit too, which sucks. Nothing concrete has happened yet, but a lot of people are expecting that some major news is going to break about closures and layoffs sometimes in the next couple of days, heading into the beginning of July. As we talked about on the channel before, the studios that are most at risk seem to be Compulsion Games, Ninja Theory, and Double Fine. But to the surprise of many, there's another studio on the chopping block, Undead Labs. According to several sources, Microsoft is exploring selling off Undead Labs and potentially canceling State of Decay 3 if it can't find a buyer for the team. Which is pretty damn crazy because State of Decay 3 looks sick. A lot of people are excited for that game. It's been 2 straight years where they've showed trailers for this game at their big summer blowout showcase, and they just got through with a round of alpha testing for this game that, from my understanding, went pretty damn well. A lot of people walked away excited about it. The things that we're seeing about this game look really cool. This has got to be one of Xbox's most anticipated first-party games, especially since it's been such a long time since State of Decay 2, which people love. According to Windows Central, the cuts are being driven by Microsoft corporate CFO Amy Hood. She's apparently demanded a variety of savings at Xbox to offset losses. This has got to be like one of Xbox's number 2 villains right behind Satya Nadella. But what's frustrating about all of this is that as of right now, all of this is rumor. So everyone is talking about layoffs and, oh, this studio's closing down. it's gonna be a bloodbath. Nothing concrete has happened yet. Everyone is just kind of preparing for the worst. So what do we actually know versus what is rumor? And really, the answer to that is the only thing that is concrete is that Craig Duncan has stepped down as the head of Xbox Game Studios. That's it. All of these other studios are in negotiations. And the prevailing narrative here is that all these studio heads are in negotiations with Xbox and Microsoft. But basically, if they don't find a buyer, they're going to be shut down. All of these headlines saying that State of Decay 3 is going to be canceled, we don't know that yet. And not a lot of people are talking about this. I don't know why, but Jason Schreier, the guy who stands at the center of all this as like the most cited source, he said that it's possible, even likely, that these studios, instead of being shut down, are just spun out to be independent again, which obviously is the best case scenario. Xbox sits down and is like, hey man, like, we gave you all the money, we gave you the opportunity. The games that you produced didn't really move the needle for us in any metric that we needed in terms of, getting more Game Pass subs, in terms of selling more consoles. So I think it's best that we go our separate ways. Those studios go independent, and well, let's be real, unfortunately, they'll probably be in the same situation that they were prior to being bought out by Microsoft, because that's the whole reason why they were up for sale. They were struggling as independent studios. Going back to State of Decay 3, though, I don't know, man. If I was the king of Xbox, if I was in Asher Sharma's shoes, I would try everything in my power to make sure that we retain Undead Labs and find a way to ship State of Decay 3. I didn't get to play the alpha. I've seen whatever everyone else has seen about this game, but I feel in my gut that this is gonna be a really good game that a lot of people are gonna want to play. People loved the second game, and State of Decay 3 seems to do pretty much everything better. Bigger map, when you play multiplayer, you're not tethered to the host. The combat looks better. Everything just looks bigger and better. I know there's been a lot of zombie games that have come and gone over the years, and we're no longer in that peak zombie era like when The Walking Dead, everyone was obsessed with it. But State of Decay 3 looks like it's gonna be something special. But, in previous videos, we've talked about, and it seems like we all share the same sentiment of, yes, it sucks that these studios are closing down, but we understand. Xbox has funneled a ton of money into these acquisitions and funding these studios and their games.
Hello,
And they
Garcia.
haven't really gotten that investment back. And
I am so sorry that I had to restart. My laptop is not a gaming PC. I kind of sold that last month, and I have a normal laptop, a Lenovo, and it's an and if I play games on it for too long, it'll crash, like it just did. So 2 more hours, please. Is all I actually need. Not 4, not 3, at least 2 with 3 viewers. Thank you so much.
when it comes to those other studios, Compulsion, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, even if you didn't like their games, you can't fault them for trying. Like, at least they produced games. When it comes to Undead Labs, though, since they've been acquired by Xbox, they haven't gotten a damn thing. We were getting on Compulsion for taking 7 years for South of Midnight. So I will admit, like, yeah, I'm kind of playing favorites because I think State of Decay 3 looks leaps and bounds better than what we've seen from those other studios. I see a lot of people drawing comparisons like, oh yeah, this is another instance of Xbox closing down a studio even though they just showed their game at their showcase, like with Ninja Theory and Senua. I could see why Xbox wouldn't want to take another risk on Senua. There's been 2 other Hellblade games, 2 other games starring Senua, and while number 1 was pretty good, we all know what happened with number 2. So I could see why they're like, okay, I don't think like a third Senua game is really gonna get people, to get up and go buy an Xbox or subscribe to Game Pass or even just buy the game. State of Decay 3, though, that's different. I feel like that could really hit. I really believe if they shut down Undead Labs and we never get to see State of Decay 3, that's going to be a hard line for a lot of people. People can justify, okay, Compulsion getting shut down, South of Midnight, it was pretty good, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. State of Decay 3, I feel like it would be another scale-bound situation. People would be pissed, and it just wouldn't make sense for Xbox. Like, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars and years trying to develop that next big fun online multiplayer game. They took a couple of swings and they didn't work out this generation. I'm thinking about Redfall. I'm thinking about Halo Infinite. Even though it was fun, even though I love it, I still play it to this day. It didn't take off in the way that they wanted. And now they have State of Decay 3, which I'm hearing nothing but good things about. And they're like, I don't know. And it would be doubly confusing, especially in this time when they want to have like these good exclusive games. I know that they have plans to put State of Decay 3 out for PlayStation 5, but any game after that, if they decide to make a fourth State of Decay, that could be Xbox exclusive. And if they want to have an exclusive every single year, you can't get rid of every studio, especially the ones that are making actually cool games. But again, we're talking about this like it's a done deal. Like State of Decay 3 is going to be canceled, Undead Labs is going to be shut down. And Jason Schreier, again, is like, I'm not 100% sure on this, so I'm not even going to comment. People are just running with that narrative. There's another
What the
layer to this, too, because there are
hell?
rumors floating around suggesting
No.
that Game Pass is about to get a whole lot worse. The story started
Oh,
floating
what?
around about conversations that were being had at the first playable trade show in Italy. Basically, this one guy was talking to some developers that were in advanced talks to get their game onto Game Pass, but now those talks were stalled. Those plans have been canceled. Essentially, the rug has been pulled out from under them. This ended up gaining a lot of steam. Suddenly, a bunch of outlets were reporting that Game Pass was no longer going to fund third-party titles or add them to their library, which is obviously crazy because third-party titles make up a bunch of the games in the library for Game Pass Ultimate. In fact, it was being reported not too long ago that Xbox was spending billions of dollars on third-party titles for Game Pass. This whole narrative has fortunately slowed down, and other people are reporting that this is just a general funding freeze for Game Pass spending until they get to that new fiscal year starting in July. And then once that new year starts up, they'll resume negotiations. They'll take a step back and look, okay, what games do we actually want on Game Pass? What would be beneficial to us? What makes sense? There are no blanket plans to just end funding for third-party games or trying to get them onto Game Pass. Obviously, that wouldn't make a ton of sense because Game Pass, like any subscription service, needs content in order to exist. And especially in this day and age where they're trying to slim down on their own first-party output, suddenly they're losing all these studios that were automatically putting their games on the Game Pass because, well, Xbox funded them. Once those guys are gone, whether they're shut down or spun into independent studios or whatever, Xbox, I imagine, would lean even heavier into third-party deals. And of course, why wouldn't they do that? It's not nearly as risky that way. You just write a check, and if people play it on Game Pass, it's great. People sign up for Game Pass to play that game, awesome. But it's not like you invested millions of dollars and 7 years or 8 years worth of development time just for neither of those things to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to happen with Game Pass. When they resume negotiations, they're going to be a lot more picky. Clearly, the shotgun approach, this wide net approach was not working for them. They got to be a lot more strategic, not only with their first-party games, but who they decide to partner up with third-party wise, especially when it comes to Game Pass. If I shell out the money to bring your game to Game Pass, are people going to sign up? Are existing subscribers going to engage with that title? We can't just be putting games into Game Pass just because, just to say that we did it. We got to be a lot more strategic about that. But beyond that, I really feel like we're going to see some major changes coming to Game Pass sometime soon. I don't know if they'll go full on like no more day one games, but I have a feeling something extreme like that is on the horizon. The $30 a month for Ultimate just set everything way far back. And we know why they did it, right? Because they were losing money hand over fist putting Call of
I
Duty
will
on the
be
Game
right
Pass day
back.
one. Okay, so now Asha comes in. She lowers the prices. Game Pass is growing again. But that's basically just Game Pass getting back the people that they lost when everyone canceled their subscription back in October. Individual game sales, the success of their first-party titles, especially the ones that are going to be exclusive, like Gears and Clockwork Revolution, that seems to be of paramount importance for Xbox right now. And the question is, can those games still be successful as long as the current Game Pass model still exists, the day one model? Just like there were a ton of talks and heated discussions, debates internally about whether or not they should pivot back to exclusives, I'm sure those same conversations are being had about Game Pass. Xbox is in the middle of a historic perfect storm situation. This is a result of Xbox being pretty much down across the board in terms of hardware sales, gaming revenue. They're having a hard time sourcing the parts to make consoles. They're having to raise the prices of those consoles just to offset their losses. We also know that they're trying to slim down in an effort to focus on the big guns, Halo, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. They want to sell more consoles, but it's hard to sell those consoles because AI is gobbling up all the memory and they have to sell those consoles at a more expensive clip. They're feeling a renewed pressure from the top from people like Amy Hood and Satya Nadella. There's been a massive leadership overhaul, not just with the new CEO with Asha, but in several key positions throughout Microsoft's and Xbox leadership. But again, all of this can be tied back to the reset strategy that Asha laid out a few weeks ago. Best case scenario is that these studios get spun off as independent. We still get State of Decay 3, and if it's a success, great for Undead Labs. They can survive as an independent studio, and the majority of State of Decay 3's development has been footed bill-wise by Xbox and Microsoft. Hopefully that happens with Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Compulsion. Either they go independent or they find another buyer. While all this news about Game Pass is kind of scary, it's also kind of nice, this idea that they could be stepping back and refocusing on good content being added to Game Pass, not just shotgunning stuff onto there. But of course, at the end of the day, like I've mentioned several times throughout this video, nothing is concrete yet. This is all
I'm back.
speculation and rumor. But of course, with everything that has been being said, with employees posting on LinkedIn saying that they're open for work, with everything that I'm hearing internally from the people that work at Xbox, all of this is very, very hard to ignore. No matter what happens, we should be finding out soon though, and I'm going to be talking about it here on Xbox Ready. So if you made it this far into the video, you like my content, you like Xbox, you want to keep up to date on everything going on, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
When people hear the words print on demand, they picture a graphic slapped onto a basic tee. But that's not necessarily how you build a brand.
We want there to be a reason to be an Xbox fan. We want there to be a reason to buy an Xbox, a reason to get on board with Xbox, and we want to reward our players who have been loyal to us for so long.
What is up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories. I talk about it all to make sure that you are Xbox ready. And damn, is there a lot to talk about. I just came home from the Xbox showcase with Mr. Jimmy Champagne, the other half of Ready Media. The show was awesome, and like the intro teased, I got to interview Matt Booty, the CCO of Xbox, Chief Content Officer, and I got to catch up with some really cool people, get their thoughts on what Xbox is doing right now, what their reactions to the show. So how about we just let them tell you about it? I'm here with the man of the hour, Chief Content Officer of Xbox, Matt Booty. Matt, congratulations on a great show. And you started off the show so strong. Back-to-back iconic Xbox franchises, Halo, Gears, Fable, and especially with that Gears announcement, not only did we get a ton of awesome gameplay, but you started off swinging, announcing a console exclusive. So everyone's going to have their own interpretations of this online. What is the message that you want people to take away from it?
First of all, it was great to have you in the room. Thank you for being there to watch. No, it means a ton because our studios, our teams, they work so hard to put this day together, to make these trailers. When they know that you all are there watching it and such positive reactions, it really gives them a lot of energy. So, and it's great to see you. Super appreciate you being there. You know, we want there to be a reason to be an Xbox fan. We want there to be a reason to buy an Xbox, a reason to get on board with Xbox, and we want to reward our players who have been loyal to us for so long. And we know that exclusives are important. So that's why we've got Gears of War E-Day this year, 2026. We've got Clockwork Revolution from our studio in Exile, just down the road in Irvine, coming in 2027. And yeah, we're excited about that.
So it's one thing to say Xbox exclusive. It's another thing to say Xbox console exclusive. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more, where we can expect this game?
As we've done, all our games will also sim ship on PC. That's important to us, and that does mean Steam. But in terms of consoles, it's Xbox all the way.
Good to know. And what does that mean for the future of Xbox? What goes into that decision on what games stay exclusive and what games get to continue to be multi-platform?
Yeah. So as we shared, we've got Gears of War E-Day coming this year. We've got Clockwork Revolution next year. Any of our big multiplayer live service games, those are going to remain multi-platform. Anything that we've already announced, we're going to honor that commitment, right? We don't ever want to take something away from players after we've announced it for them. And then as we go forward, I think we've heard Asha say before, we want to make the right decision, not a quick decision. We're going to continue to look going forward, case by case. I think our commitment is when we put a date on something, we're going to be very clear about what platform it will be on.
Now, you've gotten the reaction from fans about exclusives. You got to see it live. What is the temperature internally at Xbox and at the Coalition and Exile?
I think the team is very excited, right? It's interesting. The Coalition team, they're here. They're doing demos. They've been working super hard to get that trailer together. They're excited. And I think they were really excited to see what that fan reaction would be. And as well as the team in Exile, right? They're a little further out, but you know, they're really working hard. And again, I've said this, when the fans are excited, our teams get excited because they want to deliver something that's going to make people happy.
Absolutely. And so much to talk about after the show.
Honey, I brought back enough tomatoes to last us a whole month.
Good boy. Now sign this divorce paper. My daughter is.
We had a very nice mix of Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, Activision, tons of great announcements and reveals. What? Tell me about the balancing act of when, determining the show order and what you want to prioritize in terms of the announcements.
Yeah, as well. Great question. So, in terms of putting the show together, we actually start pretty early in the year, like even before holiday. And we've got all the teams, and we start to think about what makes sense in the show. And as you point out, our portfolio includes a lot of different things from different studios. We want every game to show up in the right place, right? So it might be that BlizzCon is the best place for Blizzard to make an announcement. It might be Blizzard had an amazing spring with everything that they announced. So we're going to let them have that moment. We're going to give them BlizzCon. For Call of Duty this year, feeling really good about the reaction to Modern Warfare 4. And it makes sense for them to have a reveal of their own last week and really get that news out. It's great to see fans excited about it. We're excited about it. So it's just when we put the show together, first, we always have more things that we could put in the showcase than we do, right? There's editing that has to happen. We also have other beats later in the year. We've got Gamescom, TGS, Game Awards, things that happen. So it is that balancing act of what's the right thing to put in, what's the right time. And we also want to pick when we show something, we want to be able to get people excited, but within a window where okay, I can get excited because it's coming. Yeah, and I think so. It is, as you said, it's a balancing act, but that's a fun part of the job.
I can confidently say that was a show worthy of the 25th anniversary of Xbox, 20th of Gears. So much to look forward to as an Xbox fan. And thank you so much for sharing your time and all these great trailers with us.
Yeah, thank you. And again, so appreciate you being there in the room with us to watch it. Thanks a lot.
I got one of the OGs, Aaron Greenberg. Super exciting show. Congratulations. How are you feeling after that?
I'm feeling great. I mean, the team works so hard on these showcases. We spend, 6-7 months creating the assets, putting it all together. It's a huge just honor to represent the work of some of the most talented studio teams in the world and our partners. And for me, I've been here since the beginning. So to me, I feel like Xbox is back, man. It's back. We had Gears, Halo, Fable. We closed with Clockwork Revolution. We announced 2 Xbox console exclusives, one this year, one next year. We got tons of games coming to Game Pass. So momentum feels great. The energy in the building feels great. Everyone's really excited, and being here with our fans, brings that all together.
What would Aaron from, you said 26 years at Xbox, when it was just a tiny little team, if you could travel back in time and show him one trailer, what would you pick?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I will just say, I think, having played the Gears franchise over the years, I think to return to Xbox, you have to return to Gears, and gives me those OG vibes, and I just love what they're doing with the franchise, the team of Coalition, and going back, to Emergence Day, and it allows not only OG folks to kind of go back, but also invites a whole new generation of gamers to come in and experience Gears from the very beginning. So I think that stands out for me, but I'll also tell you Fable's another big one. That franchise, there's a lot of gamers out here today that haven't played Fable, so the opportunity to get to sort of relaunch an entire franchise like that with the team at Playground Games, so those stand out. But there's so many, it's hard to pick some, but those would be 2 that
Xbox player
young Aaron, 26 years
and
old,
an OG
Seattle,
PlayStation player and an OG Nintendo player.
And be part of those memories is just, I feel really, really fortunate.
At the very least, can I take? I didn't mean to take it. At the very least, they're giving us what we want in terms of fan stuff. Gears of War looks incredible. Fable, getting a little bit more about what it actually is and seeing stuff like that. A clear Xbox. So it's it sounds like they're hitting all the right notes and stuff like that. The exclusivity thing seems like a lot of fans really wanted back to exclusives and all that. So
the excitement is palpable amongst fans, amongst anyone that Xbox I've talked to so far. And it seems like, especially the pivot back to exclusives, that the studios internally seem excited about that from what we're hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the big 3 out of the way, out the gate, which obviously the best move. Gears, Fable, Halo, that alone would have satisfied me.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed, obviously, that Fable got delayed out of 2026, but I understand. Fable's one of those games for me that was foundational for my love of video games and that franchise.
Yeah.
So What do you think about Xbox going into the future now that they've kind of made this pivot? They've drawn a line in the sand a little bit. Where do they go from here?
I think it's interesting because they're back to like they want to move consoles, they want to sell consoles. So it's going to be a little tricky, and I'm still waiting for like I'm a pessimist, but despite what people think, I'm very pessimistic. I'm kind of like waiting for like when the other shoe is going to drop in terms of like Xbox doing all these great moves, but it's still a corporation. Things happen, like in terms of like leadership changes, like big sweeping changes come, and sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. So I don't know, like I just hope we don't see any more like studio closures or anything like that in terms of like direction change. It might be too early to call, but in terms of like front-facing PR moves, they're doing a good job.
Obviously, they did a lot of fan service for that hardcore player base, the guys who are going to make the trip out for FanFest. Do you think that would spread to someone who has been out of the Xbox ecosystem for a while, whether it's they left the 360 behind and went full PlayStation or PC?
Yeah.
Where do you think those guys stand?
It's tough. I think the hardcore crowd at this point, they're still going to feel how they feel. I think some people moved on from Xbox. I think that's going to stay that way for a long time. But I do think casual fans, I think there's gonna be like a surge of them, because like I talk to so many people that are like not hardcore gamers, but they're Xbox people. Like there's so many people I've met that are like, yeah, that new Grand Theft Auto's coming out, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I gotta get an Xbox for that, and I'm like, I guess you do, because they were in the Xbox ecosystem and they're going to continue to be. So if Xbox keeps giving those people a reason to, then that should be a good move.
Nice. And going into the future, what's something that you want to see from them?
More games, better cadence of releases for like big tentpole, exciting games. If they're doing exclusives, they need to be the most incredible exclusives that like move consoles. I still really want like it's great that they're like Gears is back and it's awesome and blah 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 blah. But for me, Halo was a pivotal thing. Like Halo, when a Halo released, it used to move mountains. It was like a cultural event. So I kind of want them to get back to that. That would just be really cool.
Yeah. What are your feelings about like the new look in Halo and the new engine and that move?
It's gonna take some getting used to. I don't know. For me, it's always just like the character model for Master Chief. I judge everything on that. I think he looks pretty cool, but hopefully it runs well.
What do we think? Are we back or are we back?
I think we're definitely back, for sure.
Nice. What do you think? What's the standout?
Halo and Gears at E-Day. Oh my goodness, dude. Just the gameplay, the graphics, it looks phenomenal.
What about you?
Clockwork was also insane. Love it. Can't wait to play that game.
And how are you feeling about both of those being exclusive now? Console exclusive.
I mean, as they should be, right? I mean, that's what we've been asking for. That's what we're getting. So
they're coming home. They're coming home.
Yeah. Home is where the heart is, baby. Absolutely.
Anything else that stuck out about the show?
I mean, just bringing it back. I mean, we've been Xbox since the beginning, and we've been to a few fan fests. This is by far like one of the best ones we've been to. So I'm glad they're doing it again.
And for those of you who don't know, at the end of the show, Asha Sharma came out and she basically went full Oprah and said anyone that has fan at the bottom of their badge gets to the new special edition 25th anniversary Xbox. So how are you feeling about that?
Love it. I had the OG one in all green like that, and now we're getting the Series X, so I'm stoked.
Oh, can't wait to have it. I don't know if I'm going to open it. I might just keep it nice boxed up, nice and neat.
I know. No, that was a crazy announcement. But, I mean, where do you think they go next? What do you want to see from them going into the future?
Just more of those classic franchises. Just bring them back, new games, and more exclusives.
AAA titles, baby. Keep them turning out. We're ready for them.
What do we think? Are we back or are we back? For real this time?
I mean, I'm excited. That's all I care about. I'm thinking we're doing well. I mean, I counted like 14 or 15 games that I'm super stoked for that I can see myself playing, which is more than the last couple days. Lots of stuff all over the industry, right? But I think this is what I wanted. This is what I got. So,
what are some of the standouts? What are you most excited for?
That Magic game. I don't know, the Magician game, whatever that was. I can't remember the name of it. That looks super sick. Of course, Clockwork, Fable, DMZ looks really cool, and I'm not even a DMZ guy, so that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
I mean, a couple of surprises, including like going back to exclusives. How are you feeling about that?
I think it's good. I mean, I think that Xbox has the content now to compete. I think that like in generations past that really wasn't the case, but it is now. So I think that console exclusives are doable, plus PC, like that's a huge install base. So I think that they'll be sitting pretty good.
Is there anything you want to see for them going into the future?
I mean, I like the pace. I love the developer direct. I love like the content here. I'm waiting for the Elite Series 3 controller. Hopefully we get those cool haptics that I can use. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Nice, man. Well, thanks for chatting. Overall, something just felt different about this year. And for Asha's first showcase, she made her mark, man, going full Oprah and giving people free Xboxes. She's only been CEO for a short time, but she just keeps doing cool shit. Is it gonna stay that way forever? Probably not. There's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs. But at least for this moment in time, we can celebrate the fact that Xbox had a damn good show, gave us some really good games to look forward to. But anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I gotta talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for this very special edition of Xbox Ready, celebrating the showcase, celebrating you guys, and celebrating the direction that Xbox seems to be going in. There's so much that I didn't get to talk about in this video, a lot of stuff that's under embargo that I can't talk about until a later date. So if you like Xbox content, you want to hear more about the showcase, you want to hear more about what Xbox is doing, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe. What are you doing? You're at the end of the video. If you are one of his, like 80% of viewers who watch that aren't subscribed, subscribe, set your notifications to all, then you'll know when the video goes up. It's a win-win.
Yes, sir. And I got a Patreon. I'm launching it, soft launching it right now. For $3 a month, you get access to a private Xbox Ready Discord. You get to talk with me, other people like me about Xbox stuff. I'm doing one private stream a week. And also, we'll be doing weekly polls about topics that you want to see covered on the main channel. And then for $6 a month, you get access to that Discord plus bonus content that typically just doesn't make it to the main channel because, let's be real, the YouTube algorithm encourages you to do a very specific thing, especially a channel like this where I'm 5 years in. For example, I don't have a dedicated video review for Forza Horizon 6. Massive Xbox game, obviously, but whenever I've done reviews in the past or just game-centric videos in the past, YouTube is like, yeah, I'm gonna give you less impressions, which will lead to less views, which hurts the channel overall. So the best thing I can do is, like, me and Jimmy sat down, we shot for like 45 minutes talking about not only Forza Horizon 6, but Playground Games, the future of Xbox, all sorts of cool stuff. 45 minutes of footage that I cut down to 10 minutes and added into a multi-topic news video. For Patreon subscribers at this tier, you're gonna get the full, uncut version of stuff like that, versus the heavily edited stuff that makes it to the channel, or just doesn't make it onto the channel at all. Nothing is changing on the main channel, just to be clear. I'm still gonna be yapping about Xbox stuff 2 to 3 times a week. That stays the same. This is just for people who want a little bit more. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Make a move from the sauna to the cold plunge, then back to the sauna. Make more of what you make with everyday banking from Scotiabank. Learn how you can earn up to $1,000 at scotiabank.com/welcome offer. You're richer than you think.
At Vistaprint, we know you've got that idea for your business, like the one that stops people mid-walk. But once that idea is on flags, vinyl banners, A-frame signs, it's so much more than an idea. Print your possible with code NEW20 for 20% off your first order at vistaprint.ca.
Is it time for Xbox to make up its mind? What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories. I talk about it all to make sure that you are Xbox ready. Over the past 5 years, fans have had to watch as Xbox goes through this identity crisis. And there's been multiple ones too. There's been growing pains, there's been pivots, there has been a straight up identity crisis if I've ever seen one. The expectation going into this generation was that Xbox was gonna bounce back in the console wars. They were gonna give people a reason to buy an Xbox consoles off the backs of their first party catalog, which had just absolutely blown up after the big shopping spree that they went on, buying up ZeniMax Media and all these other studios. And because of that first party lineup, Game Pass was gonna dominate the industry because Xbox made this crazy bold move to bring all of their new games to Game Pass the same day that they launched. Fast forward to
I just
2026,
seen that,
things could not
Kelly.
be
You're
more
very
different. Instead
welcome.
of making their biggest upcoming games exclusive to Xbox, I don't know, games like Fable, FH6, those are now being put on PlayStation, a scenario we thought would have been unthinkable just 5 years ago. Game Pass ended up stalling out at like 32 million subscribers, and for a minute there, it looked like Microsoft was gonna give up on Xbox consoles entirely. Enter Asha Sharma. She may not be a gamer like Phil was, but Asha's been making noise and working her ass off to fulfill this promise she made back in her first interview. A promise to return to Xbox and to recommit to core fans, which I I assume means people who bought a Gen 9 Xbox. For the most part, she's made good as she can on those promises. We got our first console update in forever, we saw crazy discounts to Xbox Series X and S consoles, and she guaranteed the future of Xbox hardware essentially by tying her career to the fate of Project Helix, the code name for the next-gen machine. But Asha can't right the ship in a single day. She's the boss now, but she has to still put up with decisions that were made before her time, whether they were good or bad. One of those things is Xbox's heavy push into PC and cloud gaming. So can Xbox balance this vision that Asha has for the future, a plan to recommit to fans, to put the emphasis back on Xbox consoles, while continuing the work the old guard started in the PC gaming space? Is it time for Xbox to commit to one or the other? Can they focus on both? Can they blend both of them into one unified thing? Let's take a look at Xbox's first major step in doing just that. So Phil Spencer's Xbox was all about meeting players wherever they play their games. And let's be honest, a lot of those players are gaming on PC. The only problem though is that people hate using the Xbox PC app. That was my buddy Jimmy's biggest beef with the entire thing, and I remember he literally told Phil Spencer to his face that the Xbox app on PC sucks. So what do? Well, they slowly start tweaking the Xbox PC app, and eventually they roll out this thing called the Xbox Full Screen Experience, which debuted on the Xbox Ally X last October. This was a new interface that was meant to be more friendly for people who want to play with controller on their PC, and they also promised that the full screen experience would cut down on extraneous Windows bullshit, so you'd have more resources to devote to the thing that you actually want to use your PC for, games. In October 2025, it was very much still in the baby phases. This was Xbox's first step into trying to figure this whole thing out. But back in March, Jason Ronald revealed some very big updates regarding the full screen experience. Chief among them, they're changing the name to something way better, Xbox Mode. And in that same presentation, they revealed that Xbox Mode was no longer going to be just on the Xbox Allies or gaming PC handhelds. It was eventually going to be rolling out to all Windows 11 gaming PCs. They said it was going to come in April 2026. They waited until the very last minute to make that April deadline. But they did it, so we're going to take a look at it today, see if it lives up to the hype. And to help me do that today, I'm bringing my buddy Jimmy Champagne on, a guy that, once again, is one of the biggest outspoken critics of the Xbox PC app, just Xbox on PC in general. He runs a Steam Deck channel. He's very, very familiar with Steam OS and everything they got going on that front. So I think his perspective on Xbox Mode is really, really cool. Take it away, Jimmy.
How's it going, everyone? It's me, Jimmy Champagne from Deck Ready. Not on camera today and not on Steam OS. I am on Xbox Mode. Well, I'm not yet. I got the update. I got it all set up. It was kind of a pain in the butt, so I wanted to show it off and kind of compare it a little bit to Steam OS to see where Xbox is at, because this is big competition, right? If they handle it correctly, Xbox fans adopt Windows PC gaming, they start using their Xbox PCs on TVs, you can kind of see how that could create a little bit of a competition sort of battle between Xbox and Steam, which will only result in better features on both platforms. So I support it. I'm not in Xbox mode just yet. I'm in the Xbox app. All you have to do to go into Xbox mode is go up here to the top right corner, hit A with your controller, and it worked. It's in Xbox mode. It looks exactly the same. And to tell if you're in Xbox mode, you hold the Xbox button. You can then see every app you have open. So we've got my janky Alienware overlay that I don't know how to uninstall. We've got my special offers on Steam. And then once we're back in the Xbox app, you can kind of do everything you can on your Xbox here on your Windows PC. So you can see my profile in the top left. You can go to my library and it pulls in all of my Steam games, which is good because I don't have any Xbox games installed. And, you know, outside of a few outliers like NASCAR 25, the Easy Anti-Cheat logo, and Elden Ring Night Rain, we've got basically all of the right logos here. Elden Ring also has the Easy Anti-Cheat logo. I don't know what that's about, but you know, we got the little icons from Steam. That's pretty cool. And launching a game, very simple. You click on the game, you hit play, it launches it through Steam. I have Steam open in the background. Hopefully it'll work. Yep, there's Forza Horizon 5 booting up. I've got it muted here because I don't want you guys to hear it through my speakers and the microphone. But yeah, so this game's booting up. Once you're in a game, you can then go back to the Xbox app very easily. Everything is working fine. It's not getting any slowdown from running a game in the background. And then if I want to go back to the game, hold the Xbox button, go back to Forza Horizon 5, and we are currently in the game. No skipping, no pausing or anything. The first thing that really is impressive to me is how fast and snappy this whole system is. It's a little bit, you know, kind of janky, I would say, at certain points, because like right now it doesn't want to go home. It's like hanging on this switcher window and I can't click on anything. But if I hold the Xbox button, it'll put me back home. And then if I hold the Xbox button again, I can then switch to Forza Horizon 5, get back in the game. I've got the Forza Horizon 4 menu here. So it all works pretty dang well if you ask me. There are still some, like, you know, quick little bugs to iron out, like the controller dropping out and not working correctly and not letting me close the game that I'm currently playing, which is what I was trying to do. So I can't actually close the game. So it's not quite there yet, I would say, but it is promising, and it's a huge step forward, I would say, for, you know, the Xbox PC experience, which I don't think I'm out of line in saying has been nothing short of abysmal for years. And there's really no excuse for that, if you ask me, because, you know, it's Windows, right? Like, they're the pioneers of PC gaming, really, and Steam's kind of carried this on their back for years at this point. So to see it, you know, in a state where you can actually move around, see games that are added to Game Pass like Trepang 2, which is awesome. I heard Aphelion is horrible. We got Vampire Crawlers. You can interact with every aspect of the Xbox experience, like seeing all the Game Pass games. I think it's pretty cool, and I want to see it evolve because, like I said earlier in this video, the better this gets, the more incentivized Valve is to make Steam better, right? Like, if Xbox adds in a really cool feature that people really enjoy, I can't imagine what it would be, but if they did, say, then Steam's going to maybe make their own version of it, like Quick Resume, for example. If they figure out how to move Quick Resume over to the Xbox PC side of the fence, people are going to go, yeah, it's cool you get sleep mode in Steam with Steam OS, but man, it'd be sweet if we could save state our PC games and have multiple saved in the system memory at a time and just jump right back into them. That'll be something Valve is encouraged to work on. So while I don't foresee myself using this much, I mostly use this PC with keyboard and mouse, so this just doesn't really do much for me. And from a performance perspective, I mean, this computer is completely overkill. It's got a 5080, an Intel Core 9 Ultra or whatever, and 32 gigs of RAM. I never have to lower settings on this thing, but if I was on a laptop, on a
It's so
handheld
the
like
same for
my
me
Xbox
too.
Ally X, I mean, this is just a much better experience with a controller than, you know, guiding your way around with an interactive or a digital mouse used with the joystick because there's no trackpads on the ROG Ally. Like, being able to just use the controller is a huge step forward for what Xbox has going on. And I want to see real quick before I go if there's a way to pull up the keyboard, right? Because we can go to the store. How do you search? Oh, Y to search. Yeah, and it pulls up an on-screen keyboard on Windows, and it's instant, and it works. So I'm going to type in Trepang 2, and it shows right up. So then close the keyboard with B. There we go, Trepang 2. If you liked Fear back in the day, or Fear 2, none of the other ones, this is an indie version of Fear that works in some SCP stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend Trepang 2. Runs great on Steam Deck. But yeah, that's my quick little overview here of Xbox mode. Again, if you want to get it on your own PC, make sure you have the latest update. It's a little toggle that you flip off and on. It's nothing crazy. If it's not there, you need the Vive tools. So if you just search Xbox mode, Vive tools, there's a whole tutorial out there from, I think, Windows Central and a few other sites. Took me about 5 minutes to get
Yeah, maybe it is a glitch.
getting this active on my Razer Blade laptop that I don't really use anymore. I tried it on my 5080 PC. I ended up having to do the Vive tools, so your mileage may vary, but this is interesting. Cool step in the right direction.
I'm going to echo a lot of the things that Jim just said. I'm impressed with how smooth the Xbox mode is compared to when it launched back in October. My Steam library isn't nearly as big as Jim's, but it's cool to see them consolidated all into the Xbox app here, and you can install third-party apps to run through the Xbox app as well, so you don't really need to pop out and go anywhere else when you're in Xbox mode. That's good. It is kind of annoying when I launch a Steam game and then I'll get a little pop-up like this. I'm not able to use the controller to navigate and close that out. I have to switch back to my mouse and then click the X button. I think there is cursor support through the Xbox game bar though. I just got to look more into that. The compact mode on the game bar makes it really, really easy to customize my experience. Using my controller, I can adjust the resolution. I can see my messages. It's a lot like bringing up the guide on my Xbox console. The downside of this though, it always comes back to Windows, right? There's always some annoying Windows stuff that I have to deal with. Back when they first revealed the Xbox Ally X last summer showcase, they took me and a couple of other creators and press into like this private room to give us the initial pitch and presentation for the Xbox Ally X. And of course, a good portion of that pitch was the Xbox full screen experience, now Xbox mode. And their initial pitch for it was, yeah, we want to, cut down on the time takes you to get into a game when you launch this thing up. We also want to put the games first, make the games the focus, not Windows. And it's getting better when it comes to that, but I mean, like, why the fuck do I have to deal with Microsoft Teams popping up when I'm just trying to play Winrose? I swear to God, at the bottom, there's a little checkbox that says, do you want Microsoft Teams to start up when you start up your PC? I've unchecked that so many times, taking a look at my startup processes, what it launches when I turn on the computer, and every time this thing pops up. And in Xbox mode, the controller doesn't work exiting it out, the cursor doesn't work exiting it out. There is nothing cool about this. Like, if you're gonna make an experience that is all about the games, get this shit out of here.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Interesting. Can it generate reports?
When I got my review unit for the Xbox Ally X, I went to Activision here in LA, and I was in a room with a couple of other creators and like the PR head for the Xbox Ally. And most of that time was just updating the thing for like 30 minutes so I could use Xbox mode. And even getting Xbox mode onto my PC, it wasn't just automatic. I had to go into the command prompts and basically force the upgrade, even though I had the update that I needed. This is too much. It should be more intuitive than this. And on top of that, no matter what Xbox does in the space, they're always going to be compared to Valve and to Steam, which is an exciting prospect. I think that's cool that Jimmy said that. He wants Xbox to succeed in this area because ultimately that's going to be better for fans. But is that a fight that Xbox can reasonably handle with everything else that's on their plate? Or maybe we're thinking about it the wrong way. At this point, console and PC are separate, but with the introduction of Project Helix, those two things are going to blend together in a way that we haven't seen before. I don't know what the interface is going to be on Project Helix or what the dashboard is going to look like, but I imagine that a lot of the things that we're seeing right now in Xbox mode are going to make its way over to the next-gen Xbox. We're going to sort of be getting more details about that later this week. There's a special developer presentation about Project Helix. I'm absolutely going to be covering it, so if you're interested in seeing what's going on with that, subscribe, check back in on Thursday the 7th. Xbox is keeping busy, man. Outside of this broader Xbox mode rollout, they just dropped a ton of updates for the Xbox Ally X too, including Auto Super Resolution, which is an AI upscaler that is exclusive to the Xbox Ally X because it relies entirely on the NPU, an AI-powered processor in the chip that's not available in the standard Xbox Ally. This is an AI upscaler that works on a system level, so developers don't have to do any extra work when it comes to utilizing it. From what I've seen, it's not quite up to par with something like DLSS, but the main benefit is that it's not as intensive on your GPU because, again, it is using the NPU, which is ideal for a gaming handheld. There's only one catch, though. Right now, it only works if you're connected to a power source or if you're in docked mode. And that's the interesting thing about this update. A lot of these fixes revolve around your experience when using the Xbox Ally X on a monitor or external source. It's like they're begging you to use this thing as a proper console or gaming PC. There are a few blips though. I mean, I tried docking this to my TV, and part of this update is like, yeah, like it'll now automatically detect like your TV's resolution and aspect ratio and all that other stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. The ratio was off on my TV. It was a little bit too big. It was kind of getting cut off, but overall a really solid update, and it's cool to see that Xbox is doing that work. So far, they're doing a good job wearing all these different hats. Hopefully they can keep that up. And as a reminder for anyone who hasn't already, make sure you update your Xbox console to get all of the features they just dropped over there. I did a video about it like maybe a week ago. I don't know. Everything starts to bleed together. The highlights for that included the ability to manage quick resume settings for an individual game. This is especially helpful for multiplayer only titles where quick resume is useless. You can also make your own custom color and have it on the guide and like this cool, like, I don't know what I said ombre last time. I'm talking like when a color like starts solid but then kind of fades out to something else. You know what I'm saying? And you can also add 10 groups to home now, which I thought was really, really cool. The ability to fill up our dashboard with stuff that we create instead of sifting through all of these ads and curated sections that Xbox makes for us. Overall, I'd say all of these updates, whether they're coming to console, PC, the Xbox Ally X, cloud gaming, it signifies Xbox getting a little more active under Asha Sharma. Like there's some movement happening. And it's not just going to stop there. Word on the street is that we're going to get a ton of console updates specifically for the rest of 2026. It shows that in Asha Sharma's era, Xbox is putting in the work to improve the experience for fans no matter where they're playing their games. I'll be interested to see which way Xbox tilts. Are they going to favor a console? Are they going to favor PC? What are they going to do about exclusives? There's still a lot of questions, but I think this is a really solid start, and they're building a significant amount of momentum in what could be the most important year in the company's history. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I got to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
The union of fruity, sweet, gummy, and tangy, crunchy nerds. Nerds Gummy Clusters, so you can unleash your senses. Now in our new flavor, Cherry Lemonade.
Asha Sharma just proved that she made the right call. What is up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories, I talk about all of it to make sure that you are Xbox ready, just like me. Now, everyone, and I mean everyone, has been talking about the new CEO of Xbox, Asha Sharma. People are literally making her out to be some sort of saint, savior of Xbox, and even some of Xbox's biggest critics, biggest haters have been forced to step back and say, okay, damn, maybe she's doing a good job.
She's only been the CEO for 2 months, but she's making moves like she's Gabe Newell. She is the GOAT.
And it couldn't come at a better time because, well, Xbox fans have been frustrated. But we're also super excited because the Xbox Summer Showcase is just around the corner on June 7th. Not only that, Xbox Fan Fest is back. There's all sorts of excitement and anticipation building around the Xbox name for once. And a big part of that comes down to what I would say is probably the biggest move that Asha has made since she's been CEO, the price reduction for Game Pass Ultimate. It won over a ton of fans, and on the business side of things, it seems to have already paid off. The Verge got its hands on another memo that Asha sent out to Xbox staff, where she straight up says, yeah, the decision by my predecessors to raise the price from $20 to $30, whatever they were smoking that led them to make that decision, it was bad. She said growth slowed down and subscriber loss accelerated after the pricing and SKU changes last year. Since our price reduction, we have seen acquisitions grow and retention improve, which is a good first step. Already, that's a pretty refreshing change compared to how Xbox used to handle these things. It was like no matter what decision they made, whether it was to fire a bunch of people, close down studios, raise prices, they always try to put a positive spin on it until they literally couldn't anymore. Cue the kind of funny interview that Phil Spencer did for Redfall.
I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. The critical response was not what we wanted.
So it's nice to see at an executive level, Asha being like, yeah, we were wrong. Straight up, we were wrong, and now we're gonna work to try and fix that. And it's not like she's saying, yeah, this one decision to decrease the prices, it solved all of our problems forevermore. She's still being cautious with it too. She's saying that they still need to build on this and learn quickly. And that kind of leads me into what I would say is the more interesting part about this memo. She's saying all this stuff about, yeah, we're not gonna fix Xbox in a day, we're not gonna turn the ship around instantly. She also warns that there are some tough decisions ahead. She says we are building a stronger Xbox, all caps. That means making hard choices about what we build, where we invest, and what kind of company we need to be going forward. That is part of what you are starting to see in the shift from Xbox to Xbox. It reflects a decision to be deliberate in how we show up for the players who care most about our brand. I think that's very interesting wording because, I mean, if you say that I'm about to make a tough decision, it implies that someone is not going to be happy or a group of people are not going to be happy. You're going to have to sacrifice one thing in order to prioritize one thing. That to me is a tough decision. Everything else that Asha's done up until this point, it's been easy decisions, man. Okay, yeah, everyone hated the fact that we raised the price of Game Pass Ultimate by $10. Let's turn those prices down a bit. That's an easy decision. Everyone loved that, obviously. Oh yeah, everyone hated and they clowned on us for this is an Xbox campaign. Let's go ahead and do away with that. Everyone fucking hated Microsoft Gaming. Let's just call ourselves Xbox now. Let's reveal the code name for a new console. That's all easy stuff.
Did he just say the F word?
To build some goodwill amongst the fans and some good momentum heading into June. So what is she referring to when she's talking about, oh, we got to make hard decisions, we got to make tough decisions? I bet the number one thing that pops up for most people who have been following Xbox, when they see Asha talking about tough decisions, what direction they want to go in as a company, they think about what Xbox is going to do with their exclusives. Are they going to have any exclusives at all? Are they going full multi-platform, that's the thing that people have been begging for clarity on for years at this point. There have been reports that they're having discussions about this internally, and from my own experience, I can't say why, but I can promise you guys, this is something that they are thinking about a lot. And that signals to me, okay, if they're even thinking about switching up their exclusive strategy or their, at this point, multi-platform strategy in any way, that shows me that the multi-platform stuff isn't going as well as they probably hoped it would. Because if it was going well, every multi-platform game was selling super well, making a ton of money, they wouldn't give a damn about the fans. They wouldn't be opening up this player voice, entertaining any of this shit. They would just be like, who cares? We're making a ton of money. You guys, we're gonna keep releasing our games on PlayStation. At first, I was kind of thinking that they would make a clear stand on this issue at the showcase, but I don't know, because at this point, they would have to walk back a ton of stuff, a ton of games that are already announced to be multi-platform, games like Fable, and I doubt that they're gonna come to a conclusion about how they want to handle exclusives in just a couple of weeks. This is a big decision that has major financial implication. The budgets for their games are super high, their install base for Xbox consoles kind of low compared to all of the other machines out there. I understand that a lot of fans want them to go back to exclusive games, only on Xbox, but I just don't see that happening. Y'all know how I feel about the situation. Single player games exclusive, multiplayer games multi-platform, but then that brings in all these other exceptions like, okay, well, if the next Halo game has a multiplayer component, then shouldn't that be multi-platform? Same thing with Gear, same thing with this, same thing with that. What do we do with Call of Duty? Blah, blah, blah. I don't have the answer, Sway. No matter how you slice it, no matter what they end up doing, this is by far the toughest decision that Asha Sharma and Team Xbox has to make. No matter what they decide to do, they're gonna upset someone. If they decide to stay multi-platform, bring Halo and their other big franchises over to PlayStation 5, that's gonna upset a lot of core fans. If they decide to pull back on all that stuff, they're potentially leaving a bunch of money on the table. Separately, I believe they're doing a lot of thinking, a lot of tinkering when it comes to Game Pass and how it's structured. We saw that Asha in this memo alluded to some sort of, we're still trying to figure out a way for the growth to stay durable. The question is, how do you make sure that Game Pass can continue to grow, continue to be good for Xbox as a business? We know that it's profitable for them, but we also know that it cannibalizes a lot of game sales. This has led a lot of people to believe that, well, they're gonna eventually take off day one editions entirely. Obviously, that sounds crazy because that's the whole pitch for Game Pass Ultimate. You get this library of games and you get all of these games the same day that they launch. That's the whole reason why people bought into the system in the first place. The one major advantage that Xbox had over its competitors, even when they were trying to build Game Pass copycats like PS Plus. But they've already sort of shown a willingness to do that when they decided with this price reduction that there was no longer going to be new Call of Duty games added. Those would come after a year of being out. Is that something that they would experiment with their other first-party games? Like, oh, okay, you know, for the first 6 months, you'll have to buy it, and then it'll come on over to Game Pass. Maybe a year? I don't know. For me, I feel like they're just gonna leave that alone for now. When it comes to Asha, it's like she's riding high on being the CEO that lowered the price of Game Pass. Like, that's her big win. Even if it could encourage more people to buy the game outright versus playing it as part of their Game Pass subscription, she doesn't want to be known as the CEO that made Game Pass worse. And that's effectively what she would be doing. Oh, you are the CEO that came in and made Game Pass suck. For years, I had my Ultimate subscription, and I was able to play all of your new games. And now, I get nothing. I get the same shit that everyone else gets. Windows Central floated this possibility of them maybe rethinking Project Helix, releasing it at all, or any new hardware. Valve increasing the prices of the Steam Decks have just a bunch of people bummed. It just sucks. Like, we knew that it was coming. We knew that the RAM shortage would spare no one. Like, everyone would have to raise the price of their hardware. But for the longest time, people were like, oh, Valve would never do that. Gabe would never do that. They're always pro-consumer. They always do right by us. Well, now we have Steam Decks that are almost the same price as the Xbox Ally X. The RAM shortage sucks. These tariffs suck. Everything that's contributing to these insanely priced video game hardware or accessories, it sucks. And if you think it sucks for us, imagine the people who have to make these things. What a nightmare it is to source the parts that they need.
At the start of
And with Project Helix dev kits set to ship as early as 2027, you know that the RAM shortage is keeping a bunch of people up at night. So if it's going to be tough building a bunch of Project Helixes, if it's going to be tough keeping the price at a reasonable range where people would want to buy it, is it in danger of just being canceled entirely? Especially since Asha is saying specifically like they need to be mindful about what they build as a company going into the future. Well, according to Windows Central, at least for now, Project Helix is safe. They confirmed via their sources that there are no plans to pull back from delivering Xbox hardware, and they were also told that Microsoft has teams working literally 24/7 sourcing memory for its needs right now. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. The shortage is projected to go until like 2028. That is the optimistic view. It could go much longer than that. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just a dude with a camera and a microphone and a YouTube channel, but my gut says they're going to figure something out to get Project Helix to market. I've said this once before, I'm saying it here again. Asha Sharma's entire career as the CEO of Xbox is forever tied to the fate of Project Helix. Just like Phil Spencer represented Gen 9.
I'm gonna make this a little louder.
Just like Don Matrick is tied.
I'm gonna make this a little louder.
Forever to the Xbox One. However Project Helix does, whether it sells really well, whether it sells really badly, whether it's the last console that Xbox ever produces, it will literally be the defining thing of Ash's career. Like, oh yeah, all this other stuff is cool, lowering the price of Game Pass, you know, cleaning up messaging, all of that, that's cool and all, but in 10 years, we're gonna be talking about how Project Helix was doing, not about all that other stuff. On the more pessimistic side of things, I hate to say it, but these tough decisions could also be referring to, I don't know, maybe some more studio closures, canceled games. Obviously, that's not ideal, a scenario that Asha, I'm sure, would want to avoid. But they got to take a good hard look, especially at some of their smaller studios that they've acquired. They bought all of these smaller studios up, like Ninja Theory, like Double Fine, Tango Gameworks you can throw in there as well. And sometimes, like, it works out, they make a great game, and sometimes it doesn't. Even if they do make a great game, they close down. When it comes to the acquisitions, you got to be real here. They haven't really had a ton of major bangers being delivered from those guys. Like, yes, South of Midnight by Compulsion was great, but it came and went super quickly, didn't generate a lot of buzz. Ninja Theory, they had some success with that first Hellblade, then they were bought by Xbox. Hellblade 2, people didn't really like it as much. Didn't really sell very well. Couldn't even crack into the top played games on Xbox. Went out with a whimper. From my understanding, Ninja Theory makes most of its money as like a mocap studio. But when it comes to the output of like, okay, we bought these studios, what have we gotten in exchange for that? Like these handful of games have been like pretty good, but not like home runs. I'm sure that every Xbox game studio is being looked at with a very scrutinous eye, I'll say. Xbox, Asha Sharma, they've been doing a lot of really cool things. Mostly, they've been a lot of small things that have added up over time to give people excitement and hope. But let's be honest, we've been here before. When Phil Spencer was CEO, everyone was like, oh man, Phil Spencer, he's the man. He is going to be the one that saves Xbox. Phil Spencer is a gamer just like us. He can do no wrong. And by the end of his tenure, a bunch of people had just completely flipped. I don't wish that on Asha. I want the good times to keep rolling, and I believe that she's steering the company in a much better direction than it had been going prior to her arrival. But it's almost like she's kind of prepping us. Like, yeah, we're going to make some hard decisions. There's a lot of work that we still need to do. If you read through this Windows Central article that I'm referencing, towards the very end, they even mention, yeah, I expect another price increase to come for the Series X and S. The Series X and S, as if they weren't already expensive enough. That's not in Asha's control, but you know, as soon as they announce it, a bunch of people are going to be like, what the hell? This sucks. And I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people saying the same things no matter what Asha chooses to do, no matter what decisions are made. All we can hope for is that they commit to something and that they're transparent with us, because I know one of the biggest frustrations as an Xbox fan over the past couple of years has been like, is the sense that they were telling us one thing and then doing another, and then having the audacity to turn around and be like, yeah, we listen to fans, we value your input. No, you don't. No matter what happens though, I'll be talking about it here on Xbox Ready. So if you like talking Xbox content, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Again, I will be at the showcase. I will be at FanFest in just a couple of weeks. So if you're making plans to be there, look for me. I'd love to talk to y'all in person, but until then, there'll still be plenty of things to talk about, like some really awesome sales numbers for Forza Horizon 6. Alexa, stop talking. Modern Warfare 4, which they just revealed today. So much to talk about in the world of Xbox. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
These Tinder boys can't sing.
So funny.
A double date till 8.
Is Xbox making a $400 million mistake? I'm not so sure. What is up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories. I talk about all of it to make sure that you are Xbox ready just like me. And I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon for details on how you can join the Xbox Ready Discord and get access to bonus content like my full interview with the game director for Grounded 2, Chris Parker. Now, there's been a lot of buzz around Xbox recently. A lot of it good and some of it not so good. And even the good stuff that we were all hyped about just a week ago, we're now looking in a completely different light because of all this new information that's coming out. Things like Gears of War E-Day, the trailer that they showed off during the showcase, absolutely was the peak of the show for me. And I think a lot of people feel similarly. I think it's awesome that they're returning to the emotional core of what drew people to the series in the first place, what made them invest emotionally. I'm talking about Marcus and Dom. The game itself looks fantastic. You can tell that the Coalition are just wizards when it comes to Unreal Engine 5. You got some new movement mechanics. You can jump, you can slide, so you can all the more effectively flank those locust bastards. You got characters returning where you just have to turn your brain off and pretend like you don't know what happens to them a couple games later. Ty. And the 12-person Horde Siege mode looks absolutely incredible. All of that coupled with the massive announcement that Gears of War E-Day was going to be Xbox exclusive. We heard from Matt Booty himself that they were doing that because they want to give people a reason to buy an Xbox, to be an Xbox fan. But with everything happening this past week, all of that has been brought into question. People are questioning, are people really going to go out and buy an Xbox because of Gears E-Day? Especially during a time when they're so expensive and projected to get even more expensive. And not only are they expensive to buy, they are expensive to make. The new head of strategy, Matthew Ball, said that they weren't able to make Xboxes fast enough to keep up with demand. And Asha Sharma is out here saying that the parts to make those consoles cost twice as much when compared to this point last year, and could cost as much as 5 times as much heading into holiday 2027, which also happens to be the time where they're going to be gearing up to ship Project Helix. So why shift to exclusives so late into this console generation when they've been outsold mightily by their competition? A lot of questions popping up because Xbox is, I don't know, may or may not be shutting down these studios. Like, it's not looking great for Double Fine, Compulsion, or Ninja Theory. But while the big story is like Xbox is shutting those studios down, there are some people saying that they're still in negotiations, some saying, like, I'm hearing a bunch of different stuff. It's a developing story. Bottom line is that Xbox is looking at those 3 studios and many other studios with more scrutiny because they're not putting out commercial hits. And if even their main studios don't churn out commercial hits, does that mean they're going to change their minds about exclusives? Will they be like, okay, yeah, we were going to make Gears exclusive, but it didn't sell that well, so we're going to make a PlayStation 5 version? Lots of people speculating that they'll backtrack in some way, that they'll change their minds about exclusivity. Thankfully, Matthew Ball stepped in on Twitter and cleared all of that up, at least for now. He was like, Gears, Clockwork Revolution, those are going to stay Xbox exclusives in perpetuity. They're not timed exclusives. We're not going to backtrack. It was not a gimmick for the showcase over the 25th anniversary. It was nice to hear that transparency. It was nice for Matt to clear that up right away before those rumors gained any more steam. But rightfully so, people are still kind of skeptical because we've been here before. Xbox leadership has told us one thing, and then a few years will go by, and then they'll change their minds. Sometimes it's not even a few years. Sometimes it's like a couple of months. There's also another layer to this whole thing. Going back to Gears of War E-Day, the budget for this game was reportedly $400 million, which is absolutely insane. That would make it one of the most expensive dev cycles of all time, on par with something like Starfield, this game that was supposed to be the game of a generation. Now, me, personally, I find it very hard to believe that Gears E-Day had a budget of this size. Of course, this is coming from a guy who has never worked in video game development, so maybe it was that expensive, but even if it was super expensive, I have to assume that part of this process and part of that budget was spent on developing new tools, assets, and just laying down a pipeline that'll make creating future Gears games easier. But okay, let's pretend for the sake of this video that Gears E-Day's budget was $400 bucks. What? But okay, yeah, let's pretend for the sake of this video that the budget for E-Day was $400 million. A budget of that size would make the decision to cancel the PlayStation 5 version, make it Xbox exclusive, either the ballsiest move that Xbox has ever done. They're really like betting on themselves, thinking that they're going to recoup that investment, even if it is off PlayStation, or just a gigantic, crazy gamble. In order to make a profit at that budget, you would have to sell at least 6 million copies of E-Day at full price. Now, back in the day, with Gears of War 2 and 3 were coming out, that was no issue. Both of those games sold north of 6 million, and they were Xbox exclusive. They were only coming out on the 360, not even on PC. Granted, the install base for the 360 way bigger than what we're seeing with the Xbox Series X and S. But a lot has changed since then, and if we look back at the most recent mainline Gears entry, Gears 5, we don't even have concrete sales numbers for that. If we're looking at just Xbox, the best we can do is look at this opening week player count from when the game launched, which was 3 million. But we also know that 3 million, those aren't all sales, because Gears 5 launched on Game Pass day one. Now, we've seen games sell really well despite launching on Game Pass day one, stuff like Oblivion Remastered, so it's not impossible, but I still think it'll be a struggle for Gears E-Day to reach that pure 6 million sales number, given everything that's changed over the years for Xbox. It'll be interesting to see how Xbox measures Gears E-Day success or failure. It's probably going to be a mixture of game sales, Game Pass engagement, and signups when it launches, and maybe console sales, but I don't even know how they would track that. And then there's a question of what happens if it is a flop or doesn't measure up to the lofty expectations that Xbox must have for it. Is the coalition going to go the way of these other studios? Are we not going to get any Gears games anymore? Ashes seems pretty serious about propping up tentpole franchises for Xbox like Halo, Fallout 5, and Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, I have to assume that Gears is also in that category too. All of this boils down to a much broader issue happening with Xbox. People are already upset and confused that they're trying to go back to exclusives, which just proves you can't make everyone happy in this situation. For years, we watched as Xbox tried to cast a wide net, tried to appeal to a broader audience, be a publisher for everyone versus just their hardcore fans. If that was working out, making these creative, quirky, niche games and trying to get Xbox games on every screen imaginable, if that was really working out, they would have kept doing that. They wouldn't have pivoted back to exclusives like this, trying to build up Xbox, give it an identity again. There's something to be said about doing something that's cool. I can't explain it entirely, but you cannot deny that over the past 100 days since Ashish Sharma took over as CEO, perception of the Xbox brand, at least from my point of view, has been on the up. People think that what they're doing is cool. Even now with these studio closures, I see people who are like, I mean, it's not Ash's fault. It's clearly the old guard's fault. Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. Ash is just here trying to clean up the mess, try to right the ship. However you feel about it, people did not like the multi-platform stuff, the Phil Spencer era of when everyone plays, we all win. People did not think that was cool. Trust me, I know. I made a ton of videos about it, and no matter how many times we talked about how it was smart to go multi-platform, establish those different revenue streams, it didn't stop Xbox from being the butt of the joke. The perception was that they gave up, they lost, and that they were going to exit the hardware game entirely. Yes, they're cutting off the PlayStation audience by making Gears and Clockwork Revolution exclusive to Xbox. But people are assuming that those games were going to sell well on PlayStation in the first place, and not every Xbox published game does. Games that are not Forza Horizon 5 and Sea of Thieves usually struggle mightily. South of Midnight came out on PS5. Do you think if it sold really well over there that they would be in the situation that they are now? In many ways, Xbox is learning the same lesson that PlayStation was learning. Just because they made their games more available on different platforms, it didn't always guarantee that they were going to see a massive return on investment by developing that port. That's why the question is shifting for Xbox. They need to figure out how they can make quality games that people want to buy and play in mass. Not pumping out 6, 7 out of 10 games that are like cool and quirky and creative and then making them available on more platforms hoping to juice their sales. On top of that, Gears is going to be multi-platform, technically, because it's still coming out on Steam, and that's the more important audience for Xbox. Historically, Steam shows up way more for Xbox published games than PlayStation does. When we're talking about consistency, look at Starfield. Almost cracked 4 million sales on Steam. On PlayStation 5, not even 150,000. Same thing with Gears Reloaded, man. It didn't even sell 1 million on PlayStation 5, so why would they bother bringing over another Gears game when they didn't care about the only other Gears title that they brought over? And with everything that Xbox is doing to work with Steam, make sure that your save data transfers between both platforms, with Xbox going more PC, it makes more sense for them to accommodate them over PlayStation. Listen, if I was CEO, I would want to be the CEO that went down making a bet on Xbox. The CEO that said, yeah, our games are going to be so damn good, you're going to want to go out and buy an Xbox or subscribe to Game Pass or play our games through the Xbox app on PC. Somehow, you're going to want to try and get into our ecosystem because our product is just that good. We don't need a rival hardware maker like PlayStation to survive. Yes, it fucking sucks that they had to close down those studios. But you can't fault Xbox for trying. Those studios, they were up for grabs in the first place because they were running out of money and probably going to shut down anyway. Xbox came in, prevented that from happening for the better part of a decade, gave them creative freedom, gave them a blank check, gave them all the time in the world to produce games that unfortunately did not resonate with the majority of gamers, did not sell well, and now it's time for Xbox to buckle down and deliver the titles that people have been waiting even longer for. Stuff like Elder Scrolls 6, a new Fallout. Like, it's time to crack the whip here. A lot of this unfortunately falls down to Asha trying to clear out and pivot away from the messaging that Phil Spencer established. Will it be the right move? I don't really know. I am not a fortune teller. I ain't Nostradamus. I'm just a dude with a YouTube channel and a camera. But it's clear that something at Xbox needed to change. Is it going to change in the next year or two? Probably not. Are Xbox sales going to magically balloon out of this world and suddenly be on par with PlayStation 5? Probably not. But this is how you start it. It takes time. In order to push hardware, you need a steady cadence of AAA bangers. And unfortunately, they do have to be AAA. As we've seen over the past couple of years, the AA games, the smaller games, they were cool, but didn't move the needle for Xbox. They're laying the stage of shipping quality Xbox exclusives that will hopefully shift public perception around Xbox hardware and will eventually make people want to buy a Project Helix or even just a Series S once the price comes down. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I got to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
The judges of worlds bestowed a title upon me, child. In the name of apocalypse, the world shall be. Humans, gods, did I know what beats the hood?
Is Xbox finally breaking free from Microsoft?
All right. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate everything you ladies did for me. Tomorrow night will probably be the same time, but an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, just to be sure. And an extra 15 minutes for you two to join. And then the hour will start after you two join. I hope you guys can make it tomorrow night. Thank you so much for helping me stream and to get to affiliate soon.